Cider's Journal, May 19th, 2025. Artist blood in the code base this morning. Splattered pixels on digital pavement. Someone stole some art, ripped it clean from the page, called it inspiration. Developers looked up and whispered, open source. No one answers. The industry's afraid of talent now. The good ones disappear. Buried under deadlines, crunch time ulcers, and million-dollar trailers masking billion-dollar thefts. The forums are extended gutters, and the gutters are full of plagiarized dreams. When the servers finally clog with the runoff of stolen work, all the suits and influencers will drown. The accumulated filth of all their cursed ambition and greed will foam up around their waists. And all the streamers and subreddit mods will look up and shout, support the corporations. And I'll whisper, no. They had a choice, all of them. They could have supported the small studios. They could have said no when the contract offered exposure instead of pay. But they didn't. They were too busy tweeting aesthetics they never earned, reposting brilliance they never feel. I've seen what they do in the shadows of dev kits and backer forums. I've seen your gods, Unity, Unreal, turned into chains. The world belongs to marketers now, and nobody cares who drew it first, only who packaged it best. Tonight a new build goes live. Someone's name will be missing from the credits, and no one will notice.
Come on, nobody else gives you that kind of intro. Nobody Rorschachs when they're talking about Bungie. Come on, nobody Rorschachs anymore. Come on, only Cider brings you that. Hit like and subscribe. Anyway, Marathon's official Discord is banning anyone mentioning the real artist of the stolen art. That's anti-real, Fern, if you check her bio. Her name is Fern. And this person's worked over 10 years to refine this, and Bungie doesn't want to hear it anymore. Now, I get it. You're a moderator in there, and you're seeing hundreds of people come pouring through like, plagiarism, plagiarism, why did you steal, blah, 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 over and over and over again. While, yes, those individuals deserve to have their questions answered, absolutely, as they may just be discovering this information today, right now in this video, because again, a lot of people on Earth have a lot of things to do, and they might miss this information on the first pass. So, what you do in that Discord is you put this thing called a pin message up there, and everybody who replies, your job as a moderator is to go in there, reply to them, sub-reply, and then say, check the pin message or link them to the pin message. That's what you got to do. I'm sorry, that's your job as a moderator. You have to assume that these people are innocent, they don't know what's going on, and they're first receiving this information and they're getting inflamed over it. And the only way you can combat that is not on a one-by-one basis. You're not going to sit there and answer every single one, but rather copy and paste a link to the pinned message, the pinned message in the Discord. It's very simple to fix, guys, but instead we're going to get ban happy. And in fact, we're going to ban people because they're spamming, disruptive behavior, and moderation evasion. They're going to name anything in the book to ban you out of there from talking about this stuff because, like I said, they're exhausted of hearing about it. They don't have a good excuse. It doesn't put them on the high ground, so they don't want to engage with it. Typical corporation stuff. They admit that they did the job, but they don't want to explain why they did it, especially when they get probed by hundreds of people. Again, I can understand being annoyed with the repetitiveness of it all, but it's a pinned message in the Discord that can solve that. And so, here we have Paul Tassi passing along the information to Dexterdo that things aren't so hot over at Bungie. A lot of people aren't too happy. They aren't feeling the good vibes, and in fact, the vibes are pretty low. Morale's down there, and I wonder why. Could it be that everything that they were told by their studio, much like Concord, was a complete lie? That these devs were fed a complete line about this game being perfect and wonderful and a revival for Bungie? I don't see that happening now. Paul Tassi raises some questions too. He brings up this information. Now, I skipped down through his article because he likes to pad things out for his friends in the gaming industry. I'm not like that. I'm not like that. All right, so here we go. Some changes to future plans have been made before this new plagiarism development, mainly as a reaction to gameplay footage and the now closed alpha. All right, so you saw Shroud pointing out that this thing has the auto aim, the zip, you come right in there, boom, you have the aim assist. Now that is very annoying to players who want to treat this like a ranked thing. Bungie was obviously going to push this into being an esport. And what's more annoying in an esport than somebody with aim assist? I mean, it kind of defeats the point of competition when you auto lock onto somebody, right? I mean, at least in COD, you can miss your shots point blank, right? At least you can do that. But anyway, let's get into more about what's going on over here because, again, they admit now that everything they expected about Marathon was wrong, okay? And this was before the stuff with Anti Life came out. So here we go. At the start of this month, Bungie pulled the plug on its main Marathon marketing plan, which was going to have a new trailer in June along with the launch of pre orders. The whole campaign needs to be reworked now. Now, again, we're not just talking about those fancy graphics that Fern generated that whoever was working at Marathon suddenly decided was theirs. You know that meme where that guy hands a guy another thing and he says, "You made this? I made this." And then the other person is left with this person claiming their work, right? Well, that's what happened. And so, on top of that, you also have the gameplay that needs to be reworked now, and pretty much from the foundation, because people have complained that the game is just empty. You jump in and you're just supposed to murder each other for what? You have the right to murder each other endlessly, I guess. That's the gamble. I'm not really sure. So, a heavily marketed public beta in August may be changed into a roadmap of public playtests. With no actual details set yet, this would align with Bungie's stated multiple opportunities to play before launch, rather than just the upcoming beta. Okay? Now, again, what they're trying to do is spread this out to as many people as they can to try and find somebody out there that likes this. But as they keep finding out, nobody does. Marathon was originally pitched by higher up, good old boy Bungie leadership, and as far back as 5 years ago, devs were telling them what would and wouldn't work and were often ignored. Wow, who would have ever guessed that? Who would have ever have guessed that the people above didn't want to listen to the people actually doing the work? Isn't that interesting? It's almost like Concord all over again. Anyway, so you have this idea here. Now, Marathon was originally pitched to be a PvE, had to have some PvP, PvE rather, component to it. I'll get it right eventually, I promise. So it's a PvE component to it. And again, this is part of that extraction shooter thing that they were trying to drag into the Overwatch kind of basic foundation of team versus team that destroys each other to achieve point rank, I guess, point rankings. So they wanted to have a player versus environment component to it in order to add like a different difficulty to the game. And so it wasn't just running at each other in some copy paste pre rendered Unity asset environment and murdering each other endlessly because points, you know? And this again is the biggest problem with a lot of this is that as trends form in gaming and then corporations see that trend and decide they want to copy it, it's going to be a minimum of 5 years to get anything ready to show the public ready to go. And that's what we see here with all of this crap. Now, we got to thank Bandar Hub for coming out here and bringing us this information, right? So, Bandar Hub brings us the reason why Bungie is floundering so hard and why the higher ups are jerk offs now, not the people that gave us Master Chief, okay? And so here we go. We have this is Bandar Hub, by the way, very important information gatherer, and of course he displays it very well here. Great design work here from Bandar Hub. So please feel free to go over on x.com and find at Hub Bandar. That's at Hub Bandar. Give him a follow. Really great account, especially if you're looking for really concise breakdowns for these kind of videos right here. Bandar does excellent work. All right, excellent. So let's check it out. We have Bungie is a mere shadow of its former glory. Bungie has lost the critical minds that shaped its golden age. Now, we know about Marty O'Connell. He ran for office recently, and I had my fingers crossed because I at least knew that the music coming out of American government would sound a lot more hot, you know? bit more exciting. And I'm kind of sad that that guy didn't get into it because I wanted to see him take a shot at like remixing the American anthem and see if we could come up with something that sounded more space conquesty. But whatever. We got Martin O'Connell. He's the guy that basically made the iconic sound of Halo. Anytime that you're hearing any music from Halo, it's most of the time it's 60% Marty. Most of the time it's more than that. He's very, very, very talented at what he does. And of course, knocked it out of the park in the first games, and of course throughout the Halo series. Now we have Joseph Staten, is a guy that was right from the beginning with Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2. He was shaping Master Chief and Covenant storylines. That guy's gone. We got Marcus Leto. He's gone now. He was the art director. Now you got James Gresimer, right? You have to let me know. You got Jamie Gresimer here. And of course, he worked to design the core mechanics, like the 2-weapon limit in the game, okay? And you had Christopher Barrett, and he shaped Halo's environment. So again, when you're going around seeing this Pacific Northwest kind of space alien Halo ring thing, that's because of that guy. Beautiful. You had Max Hoberman. He was a mastermind behind Halo 2's groundmaking matchmaking system. And you had Shikai Wang, and he was the senior artist at Bungie, shaping Halo's visual identity. So again, when you see like all this very heroic artwork of Master Chief with one leg up on a rock with all that beautiful Halo landscape behind him and the curving environment as it goes up, right? All that stuff, that's that guy. He's gone. And you got Damien Isla here, and he designed Halo 2 and Halo 3's dynamic AI. So you wonder why Bungie AI is so soft and squishy now. Well, there you go. So there you have it right here. Why is Bungie floundering? Why is the morale low? Because anybody who had passion for this company is gone. Everybody else here, they're there for the agenda, to drive home that you have the wrong idea about the future and you're on the wrong side of history. That's why these guys are gone. Marty even explains, he said this in an interview recently about working at Bungie. And he said he realized when he met a guy in the parking lot that he had never met, and that guy didn't know him, didn't know what he did for the company either, that it was time to leave. Okay? Now, Marty says that happens in corporations. People get hired up, departments, compartmentalization. No. It's like going to work to Disneyland and not knowing who the hell Walt Disney is. Okay, that's bizarre. It's completely mind-boggling that the foundational team isn't something that you as an employee at Bungie know like the back of your hand. Why are you there? Why? That's right, to collect a paycheck and dispense an agenda. All right, we got more. So like I said, why? The Bungie leadership reportedly ignored the devs, okay? And why I isolated this one is I wanted to bring up again, okay, what happened with Concord, okay? Now we remember Concord was told, the dev team at Firewalk was told that they are going to produce the next Star Wars, okay? Concord was told to the devs at Firewalk that they were working on the next Star Wars. Now, I promise you that these guys were told that they were being worked on the next Matrix or whatever you can imagine. It was some groundbreaking cyber transhuman work of literature or cinema. And that's what they're trying to tell these devs that they're working on, because that's why they came out so proud of the crap, the absolute trash that they sent out into the marketplace. That's why they're so proud of it. That's why they're so stunned that people were like, I didn't like it. I didn't like that. They stole that. And they just blew their minds that people weren't just like, oh my gosh, this is transhumanism in space. I've never seen this before. It's annoying. And so here we go. We got a breakdown from Pirate Nation here. Make sure you follow Pirate Nation. That's Pirate Nation without the E. And so check it out. Marathon's entire art style is stolen. Bungie stealing Marathon art is the last straw. Marathon developer Bungie has been accused of and has now admitted to stealing artwork used in the current build of Marathon from an artist who first published the work back in 2017. The artist is Anti-Real, who posted several comparisons of her work and existing Bungie Marathon assets, which go far beyond inspiration and are often direct one-to-one lifts of images, words, symbols, and even Anti-Real's own personal logo. One of her statements is this. Within a matter of hours, as this began to spread virally, Bungie issued one of her statements. Bungie issued a statement saying that it was a former Bungie artist who included a decade's decals in a texture sheet and ultimately went into the game. The issue was supposedly unknown to the existing art team, but obviously, many, many questions have been raised about all this as Bungie continues to investigate. So, okay, I showed you before in the intro there where she went and hid Lost, and it just got completely one to one right in there. Like you're walking around the map, and all of a sudden there's Lost carved into the wall. All right, like some back rooms thing. Some person died up against the wall there, and the last thing they carved into the wall with their bone, with their finger bones, was Lost. That's what that looks like. It's really unnerving to come across that, I guess. So here's the situation. The reason why I isolated this one is because what you're looking at right here is the willing desire to steal. Okay. And you're not going to see that change because these people aren't inspired by Marathon. They're not interested in Marathon. Even the higher ups aren't interested because they abandoned everything that made Marathon Marathon. Rather, they've embraced this insane new transhumanist concept, right? And no, don't get me wrong, Marathon was full of that before, but this takes it to another level by abandoning almost all of the pretext of Marathon before and only embracing the transhumanism discussed on and off in the Marathon franchise, mostly featuring adversaries that are conducting this. Now, again, you're meant to kill each other in Marathon, the PvP, PvE, everybody shoots each other forever game, okay? You're meant to do that. I understand that. However, when you strip out these story elements that humanize the reasoning behind all of that, and it's just a free for all for points, what are you doing? I understand that things like this work for Fall Guys, but Fall Guys is meant to just be a game that entertains the like ADD activity part of your brain. If that's what you're trying to do with a shooter, you're going to run out of energy very quickly. You're going to run out of momentum with people very quickly because, again, nobody is interested in that style of game. They weren't even before. The reason why Tarkov survived is because it has a very unique way of expressing itself that Bungie was not able to clone for Marathon. And I say clone because, again, what I'm bringing up with all this is it's not going to change. This is the fourth time that Bungie has done this. What does quality assurance do at this company? Nobody can do a Google Lens search on anything in this texture pack. Nobody anywhere in the company said, wow, we should probably just make sure that none of this looks like anything else before. You're going to tell me that the hundreds, possibly thousands of people that worked on the visuals of this game, the visuals of the marketing, and the visuals of the trailer had no input on like, wow, this seems like something that we should probably just double, triple dip check to make sure that we're not going to destroy our company because we've been hit 4 times with plagiarism and somehow this was an outsourced job. Like, to begin with, that is the core visual. That's the main attractive force to your company. Why are you outsourcing the visuals of your game at all? What kind of insanity is that, by the way? That's what Bungie's excuse was, is they had a private contract that went and did this. So it's like, hold on. You went and you hired outside of your company to establish the entire visual presentation of the game. What do you do at Bungie anymore? Do you just sit around and discuss your feelings all day? There's more. So again, Bungie confirms the art is stolen. They're going to go through thorough review. The problem is that the thorough review ends up rendering this. Bungie is the former Marathon artist that stole the art in the room with us right now. Again, it's a screenshot from that guy that pretended he was insane and everybody found out he was because he was bad at faking it. So anyway, there it is right there. And that's what the whole thing is they're going to blame this phantom. Nobody's going to get punished, and they're going to make light adjustments to the game here and there, just enough to avoid anything in court that come down as 100% stolen again. And then they'll put the game out, and it'll land just like Concord did, because nobody's interested in this. Visually, it's not impressive. Gameplay's not impressive. The story's not impressive. The attraction of like what you're supposed to accomplish in the game is not impressive. And it's not supposed to be some groundbreaking thing. Look at what happened with Claire Obscure, right? That's not supposed to be some groundbreaking thing. They took existing mechanics and turned it into something that worked for them, which is what people are calling a French RPG game now. Like the JRPG, the Japanese RPG games had their own specific aesthetic and attitude. Now, Sandbox Interactive I think that's what it's called. You have to let me know. Sandstorm? I don't know. Is Darude Sandstorm? Is that what they're called? Anyway, you'll have to let me know. But again, this company that put out Clair Obscur, they made the decision to pull inspiration from that, not copy paste Final Fantasy. It's a big difference. And even the Twitch chat understood immediately what to do about this, that they needed to hire Anti-Real immediately. Excuse me, I'm going to puke because it's just so. It just churns the stomach to think that these people get paid so much money to sit here and go, not my job. It's not my job to do a Google Lens search. That's not my job. It's not my job to make sure that we're not stealing art. It's not my job. Whose job is it, Chief? Whose job is it? What do you do for work there? Everybody along the line should be asking questions like this. Everybody, especially, this is the 4th time. After the first time, everybody and their brother should be looking over their shoulder to make sure nothing looks like anything else. It's ridiculous that it let it get to 4 times, probably 5 at this point. I challenge you guys, go out there and find Bungie's games that have come out in the past 5 years, 10 years, and go through them with a fine-tooth comb to find out just what exactly they have been stealing, because I guarantee you it's not just these 4. It's not just these 4, because it's an attitude of destruction. It's an attitude of destruction that drives you to this right here. Just days after this art leak, this stolen art thing came out, okay, with Anti-Real, they hold a Q&A and expect it to be anything other than what's going on with the chat right there. It is the height of hubris to insist that people are not going to care about this. Because when it comes down to why people have a problem with the corporate game makers right now, it is this. It is this soulless glare that they give you because they don't understand why you're mad at them. We gave you a game. Why are you mad about stolen assets? Nothing matters, guys. We'll just pay off the artist. Calm down. And that's their attitude about all of this, is that there's no repercussion, there's no punishment, meaning there's nothing wrong. And at the end of the day, you're left with this as the Bungie offices as they scramble around trying to figure out what to do with themselves, how to figure this mess out, because none of them have passion for what they're creating. None of them. And this brings me to my final point right here. Now, I'm a fan of Charles Bukowski. I really enjoy his poetry, and one poem in particular is my absolute favorite. And so rather than read you the whole thing, I'm going to cut to the relevant part, okay? And so it says here, not being able to create art. They will not understand art. They will consider their failure as creators as only a failure of the world. Not being able to fully love, they will believe your love incomplete, and they will hate you, and their hatred will be perfect. And that's who you're dealing with. The genius of the crowd. People who will always believe themselves to be better than you, and thus entitled to your work, to your opinions, to your ideas, to benefit themselves. As always, guys, you'll have to let me know what you think down below, and good luck out there.